listeners and podcasters. I'm super excited to be here with you today. Hopefully these sessions are useful. If you're still watching, great. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Before you do anything else, hit the subscribe button. We're excited to have you here. We're hoping this content's useful for you. And we also want you to subscribe. I know I'm just going to say it over and over because I think it's super important. So I got a lot of things moving here in the room, trying to work through this new technology that I'm dealing with. And then I also have my, what I've called in previous sessions, teeth out. My Invisalign are out during this one. I've got a cup of coffee here. This is going to be a super informal session, but I'm going to talk to you about kind of what I'm doing now. I've talked about owning a consulting firm and a real estate investment firm. And I think that most of our time together is going to be on the investment firm side. And today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how I evaluate properties, but not only that, some of the criteria that I'm constantly looking for in those evaluations as well, all of which are very important to me. So in our last episode, I took you through basically just a standard net worth calculator. And at some point during that session, I referenced the fact that my net worth is over $1 million now. Super cool. But I have goals that are a little bit more than that, but exciting to kind of, surpass that milestone. And it's all because I started to invest in real estate and understand the power of real estate. So a couple of things that I think are helpful as I kind of talk through where I'm at today. I'll listen to a lot of YouTube and podcasters. How can you become a millionaire? And not just in income, right? Because my income's great now. And I don't know, everyone defines income as great at different variables, but if you're making over $350,000 a year, you have a pretty decent, healthy income, right? And it probably put you in the top 5% from an income standpoint of most folks here in the United States. So decent income, but income alone doesn't really drive wealth and net worth and generational, I think, success for your family, right? Financial stability for generations and generations to come. What I do think helps with that is real estate and investing in real estate. And so through listening mostly to Bigger Pockets, now there are other people that I listen to, Graham Stevens, Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, Dave Ramsey. There's just so many people out there that are in this game that kind of prove that you can become wealthy by purchasing and being in real estate. So I know for a fact that it's doable, but I've spent the past year listening to Bigger Pockets, maybe a little bit longer. And that's exactly what kind of drove me to where I'm at today, which is, hey, I'm making good money. Let's invest some of that money back into myself and into my family, not just for today, but for the long run, for the long haul. And it provides me a lot of flexibility. So guys, how is that? If I purchase a home, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my criteria, and you're going to hear one of them now. I'm generally purchasing properties that are distressed or that need some sort of work, because I know once I go in there and purchase these homes and put that money into them, it's going to automatically increase the appraised value of those properties. And so I'm constantly looking for something that needs just a little bit or a lot of work. And I will tell you, there are benefits to getting the ones that need a little bit of work, and there are sometimes benefits to getting the ones that need a lot of work. And I'll talk to you about kind of what I'm learning as I continue on my journey. And I'm still sort of in the early stages of my real estate journey. And so you guys are going to learn a lot about that with me here on this podcast, but I don't want to give the impression that I'm, 500 properties in. Nope. You're going to sit here and, have the opportunity to walk through this journey with me. I just went under contract on a five homes in a commercial portfolio that I'm purchasing. 4 single families, one's a mobile home on a private lot, great location with the perfect spot to store my newly purchased RV. So very excited about this one because I was trying to figure out where I'm going to store it. And now I've got a property that has enough to store 2 RVs actually inside of a shed there. I've actually kind of been dabbling with a shed-dominium idea where you kind of just spruce it up and make it livable for people to come and rent out. Short would work. Thinking about it, no guarantees that that's going to be the case. But like I mentioned, one of the biggest things I'm looking for are distressed properties because I can go in, put in new kitchens, update the bathrooms, paint, all those simple things that allow you the opportunity to get some forced appreciation into those homes after you're complete. And so that is one thing that I'm looking for. And then what I get the benefit of is I think now that I own 2 businesses, but I want to own even more. And a couple of weeks, maybe it was last week, a session that I showed to you was what sorts of businesses should you be purchasing or getting into? And clearly within that list is digital marketing, SEO optimization, website design. And so I want to buy a business. And, what's the easiest way to purchase a business? Well, I won't say easy, but there are a couple of options that you can use to make a purchase of another business. One, you can get a small business loan with the SBA or, some other lender out there. And interest rates, maybe they're between 7 to 12%. I'm kind of just tossing numbers out here. I have no idea, to be totally honest, but somewhere maybe around in there. And you get a $150,000 to $200,000 loan that has a pretty decent term. I think they go either 10 to 20 years. I can't remember specifically. So there's a decent term, but you're paying a lot of interest on, $100,000 to $200,000. And so when I've been sort of doing my evaluation, I'm like, I don't want to, have a loan that I'm going to pay on over the next, X number of years. It's going to cost me this amount. It just didn't sit well with me buying a business with a loan. Everyone can, and I'm fairly risk averse, and to me that just felt too risky to do. So what am I thinking about doing as I kind of evaluate a real estate purchase? It's simple. I'm now buying real estate. I mentioned real estate purchase, but invest, if I'm going to buy another business, acquire another business, if I'm going to do that, how? And it's through real estate. So if I buy a property, I'm going to look at just a couple of properties that I have on my portfolio now to keep it really simple. One that I purchased, I think I paid around $75,000 for it. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home. So I've literally gutted that property, and I think it's on our website. I'll take a look here in a few minutes and see if we can come up with some pictures of the before and afters for this particular unit. But we gutted it. We basically redid the entire home and sort of forced appreciation into this property. We did central AC and heat. We put new flooring down. We painted. We did some segmentations. Bedrooms upstairs didn't have doors. We added doors. The bedrooms upstairs were actually walking through what was the primary master bedroom of the home. So we made some adjustments to the layout to allow for the master to be separate and the entryway into the other bedrooms to be separate too. So made some just pretty significant changes, but not super costly, right? The central AC and heat was costly, but aside from central AC and heat, relatively straightforward updates, modifications to the home. And so with that, purchased it for $75,000. We probably put between $25,000 and $35,000 into it, give or take. But let's just use round numbers and say, all in $100,000. Well, that home now is probably worth on the market around $150,000 to $160,000. So we've pushed up the value of that property from $75,000 to around $150,000. And we put in $30,000. So there's about $50,000 extra in there from, not, if you sort of take the $100,000 we're in, or the value of the home at $150,000 minus what we put into it to come up with sort of that $50,000 remaining. But it gives you dollars. So you can do things like a cash out refi where this home's worth $150,000. You got a mortgage on it for like 60 or whatever, right? You mortgaged that property. So maybe it's a $50,000 or $60,000 mortgage. And you can do a cash out refi on that property and probably bring in a significant amount of money. Maybe it's $75,000 to $80,000 you can get back out of that property by doing a cash out refi on the home. So I got instant cash, $75,000 to $85,000 sitting right there waiting for me if I need to pull on it, if I need to get to it, whether that's through a cash out refi or if I ever wanted to sell the unit, right? So I'm not going to do that because, again, I paid $75,000 for it. I've got that thing renting out at around $850 a month. And so I'm getting some good cash flow, but I'm also getting forced appreciation because I'm putting work into a distressed unit. So if you're thinking about buying, there are a couple of ways to do it. And I think it all depends on what your preferences are and where you're at from a financial standpoint. I like deals. I absolutely, and everyone will attest to this, my realtor, yes, I have a realtor that I work with in my primary purchasing area. My spouse will attest to this, and I will. I do not believe in paying asking price for anything. And so as you would imagine, we almost bought a new home right before interest rates just started going up like crazy. And it was a new build. And so I'm contemplating, well, we should ask for everything under the sun, because you can't really negotiate prices generally on new builds, or at least I've not had experience where that's the case. But I'm always looking for a deal, whether it's my primary or if it's these homes that I'm purchasing that are going to be investment properties. I am someone always looking for a good deal. So distressed properties allow you that opportunity. If there's work that needs to be done, luckily you get in and you're going to put value into that, but you can also negotiate the price. And so distressed properties are one of the top criteria that I'm looking for as I'm purchasing real estate. So let me just talk to you a little bit about how I evaluate properties. And so I'm going to go over to Bigger Pockets. My editors will have to work through kind of what in the world I'm doing here, but at the highest level, I use the Bigger Pockets platform, and I think I have on every purchase essentially to evaluate whether a deal is a good deal or not a good deal. And so let's go ahead and move over here and look at the tools available inside of Bigger Pockets. So on my screen right now, I am a pro member, is what they call it. And so because of that, I've got some advanced items in here that I get to leverage. I started off with the free version of Bigger Pockets and moved to pro pretty quickly, just because I want some of that evaluation criteria under my belt. Now I kind of do a little bit of this on my own, but I also do a lot of this with them too. And so I'll take you through that here in just a second. All right, so I'm using the tools, and I'll be totally honest with you, I don't use all of these tools because I haven't become an expert on them at all, but I do use the rental property calculator. So it does a few things: determines the profitability of a potential property, monthly and annual cash flow, return on investment over time, and then allows you the opportunity to plan for unforeseen expenses. And everyone will have the unforeseen. The home I was just talking to you about, we didn't touch the plumbing when we moved into that home. When we had a tenant move into that home, and literally the very first day they moved into the home, I don't know anything about plumbing. All I know is that pipe broke or busted, something messed up in the home. Basically things from your toilet, all of the things you don't want to talk about, flowing down into the basement from the toilet. So every time someone used the bathroom and flushed it, it's not going through the pipes, but rather it's coming straight down into the basement where the washer and dryer is and where people wash their clothes. And they come into that area often. So that's that unforeseen expense. I ended up paying way too much for this experience. Long story short, because it was doing that, I felt like it was urgent. My plumber, super busy group, couldn't get out there until the next day. So I'm trying to find someone who can get out there same day and fix the problem. So patience is another key skill you need in real estate. And I'm still working on my patience even today. Found some guy not licensed at all to come out and do the work. Well, he does the work, but he doesn't do it entirely. He does about half of the job that he was supposed to do while he was out there. Long story short, I ended up having to pay him and pay the actual plumber to come out and do work. So I double paid for a job. Now, I did negotiate the price of what he was going to charge me down. This guy was actually going to try and charge me $1,000 to do the job. I'd actually sent him the check too, just assuming that the work was done well. Come to find out, right after he leaves, my tenant issues are not resolved, and we have to get someone out there to really fix the problem. So it was going to end up being double that, basically $2,000 to fix the plumbing, because I was too impatient. Did talk to the guy and say, hey, look, we appreciate you coming out and working all night, but you didn't get the job done right. And we had to get someone else out there to do it the very next day. And we're paying them exactly what you charged me, and they're going to finish the job. And it's not that we didn't want to take his word that he did the job right. It was that we had so many people coming out and saying, whoa, this needs to be redone. It wasn't done correctly. And so for that reason, I had to insist that we negotiate a better price. I appreciate you coming out and putting a little Band-Aid on the explosion. That kind of helped for a few minutes. So that was good. But now we've had to have someone come out and not just, put a Band-Aid on it, but actually stitch it up and repair it in such a way that it's going to be good for the long haul. Unforeseen expenses do happen. They sometimes can be costly. And maybe if you've got a crew or people that you work on, rely on, and trust, don't be impatient. Try and figure out an alternative, and then let the right group come out to do the work when they can, as opposed to getting someone that you don't know and you've never worked with out there to do work. Another thing just to go along with that is it's an experience where you need to get an extra team. And so segmenting your work and allowing other people to come out and price you on things and get a good sense of what their operating model is and how they may be able to help you in your business is a good idea too. So you have a bench that's a bit wider than just one group. You want to have a few groups that you partner with, work with, and that's so when issues or emergent issues pop up, you've got more than one vendor to go to for a particular problem. That's my 2 cents on that. All right, so we are going to look at a few properties today, and some of these are ones that I actually own. Some of these are ones that I'm looking to put bids on, so you're not going to get to see all the details today, but I wanted to show you this platform so you can kind of understand what it is that we use it for and what the benefits of it are. This is a great one. This is one that I'm actually not going to be putting an offer in on, and I'm so sorry that some of this is going to be grayed out and you won't be able to see every single unit. That's mostly because I want to make sure I'm under contract on on homes before I display them or show them to you or get too deep into the details, because anyone can go out and take my property. So I'm sorry these are all kind of redacted a tad bit as you're watching it, but you'll get the idea. And eventually we'll start showing these, way past the time. And so it'll be a very moot point. But this is a unit. And this is a great opportunity for someone. I'll start there. I'm going to pull this property up on Realtor. And what I want to do is basically show you guys kind of what I'm looking for when I'm evaluating whether I'm going to actually purchase a home or not, because I think that's super important. So I'm all about multifamily. So I started off with single family. I have 2 single family homes. Now I own a triplex that's under renovation. It'll be 2 regular rentals and a short-term rental on that site. And then I'm under contract on the 5 homes that I'm going to purchase here in the next 60 days. So under contract on that one, super excited about it. And now I'm evaluating what my next deal will be, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what that one is and the benefits of it. But I want to talk to you about this one. 3 separate units, 4 apartments in each one. So there's 3 buildings, 4 apartments in each one. And this is a great investment property. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why I'm not buying this one in particular. So this is the exterior of it. Here's 2 of the units. There's one more standalone by itself. So again, 12 units. Right now, they're about... So 4 of them are not occupied. There are 4 vacant units in this 12 unit apartment complex at the moment. So 12 are vacant. The ones that are not, the tenants are paying $400 a month. They're all 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. The rent rates right now at this very moment for 2 ones are around $750. These homes are in distress, and they're in pretty significant distress. So here's the kitchen. This is sort of the spitting image of what you're going to see in every single unit. Refrigerator looks fine. Stove is probably still usable, but the kitchen needs to be gutted. This is going to need someone to come in and actually put down flooring in it. As you can see, they've started to renovate this unit by pulling things out that they weren't going to use, but they never completed it. This is the bathroom, and you can kind of see, right? So this is kind of the standard. They've got in-window AC units in this home. Things like that. This is the property. I'm going to just tell you why I'm not buying this one. I think this is a great deal for someone. I've got another unit that I'm looking at right now that's a lot less expensive than this one. That's going to give me a bit more opportunity to actually start another business that I've been interested in. So this is a play on residential. There's 6 apartments in this one that I'm going to purchase and 2 commercial spaces down below it. I've got some creative ideas for the middle commercial space. But at the bottom, it's great for sort of a coffee shop. So it's set up such that you can have people come in and work and drink coffee in your location. And so that to me was super enticing. And it's one of those ones that I have a bit of flexibility on close date for too. So I like that for myself. I'm small in this game. And so, I've kind of taken this approach to 1 single family, now a triplex, then a 6 unit. And then maybe I jump into a 12. So I'm taking a very conservative approach to my purchasing, but this is a deal. And so if you take this deal, so this is the home we just kind of skimmed through. There's quite a few pictures, and you drop it in bigger pockets. So interest rates right now, if you guys don't know, are probably right around 7.5 for an investment property. Holy cow. It's a good thing to a certain degree, though. You might think that's a lot, but the benefits to this are less competition out to market when interest rates are this high. And so as I'm evaluating that unit that I just showed you that looked like, it's 12 different units, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, distressed. They need some work, probably going to be putting in. If you don't do central AC and heat in each individual unit, and you use the heating mechanism that's in there, and you do the in-window AC units that are in there, and maybe just redo those or re-up those, because the units are fairly small, so easy to contain and manage heating. If you didn't do that, you're going to still have to redo the kitchens. At least you may be able to get away with not doing anything in the bathrooms, and the exterior needed a significant amount of work at this unit too. So I'd say all in all, you're probably looking at around $100 to $150, maybe $200,000 to get the units up and running. And I think this person has the units actually slightly overpriced. I wouldn't pay that for them. I'm thinking everyone else that's going out there to look at them is thinking the same thing. You probably got a deal from me at around $350,000. They're actually wanting $550,000 for these units. So for me, it's like, I'm not interested in paying $550,000 for something right now that I'm going to have to put $200,000 into. Great deal for somebody, not a great deal for Nicole. But the Bigger Pockets tool, just to get back on track and close this out here, is a great place for you to go and look at things like, what's my monthly cash flow? What's the projected expenses for this unit? What are the rent rates for this unit? What's my interest rate? What's my term? So I can kind of evaluate what my all-in cash-on-cash return on investment will be, what my cash flow will be, what the pros and cons of this purchase are. A few things I look at every single time is the cash-on-cash return, right? What's the cash-on-cash? And I don't know if I evaluated this the right way up front, but I think you'll see here. I'm going to kind of go through this with you together. So this is almost like you're updating a new property. You're looking at evaluating a brand new property in this system. So you'll start with the street address, the city, state, zip code, the purchase price, closing costs, the after repair value of the property, and what you think it'll take to repair it. So I have repair costs super low because I was basing this off imagery, not actually getting into the units. They need quite a bit of work to get them prepared. And then your down payment. So I've got mine at 15%, interest rate at 7.5%. My loan terms are generally 25 years. They are ARM, or they do fluctuate after 5 years, but it's a 25-year loan term. And then the rental income. So I mentioned that they've currently got this one renting at $400 a month. I've tossed every single one at $700. So now we have rent in there for every single property. Estimated property tax, estimated insurance, repairs and maintenance, and vacancy. You can probably put the repairs and maintenance bucket a little bit higher depending on the amount of work you're going to do. If I were coming into these units, I'd be putting as much work up front into them so that my repair costs are super low. So generally I feel very comfortable with the 1%. And they maybe just toss in something for management. Right now, my properties are managed by my family. So luckily I've got a family business, and so it's self-managed. And I will have some sort of electricity. Only reason I know that is there are cameras on site. So let's just assume $75 a month for that. And that's it. So if I'm updating this analysis, I'll be honest, Bigger Pockets is probably going to come on and tell me this is how you do it, and I hope they do. But the things I'm really looking for are some of these things that I hear about all the time when I'm listening to things like Bigger Pockets, right? So let me go back out really quick before I get into that, because there are some things I just look at immediately that pop up that are important probably. It's cash flow, which for this one is $63,000 on an annual basis. After expenses, that's pretty awesome. And the cash on cash return is 22%. So this is a great deal. The only reason I personally, and it's not any other reason, it's literally, I would need them to come down on the price. I don't have endless cash reserves, and I do all of my properties with my own money. So I don't have investors or partners that are helping me with any of my deals yet. I like to do it individually. I'm an entrepreneur. I love owning businesses, and I love doing things a certain way. And so I haven't been in that position where I've had to involve other parties yet. And so for that, I like to keep it that way too, just to be fully transparent and honest. But for me right now, from like a cash standpoint, it doesn't make sense. If this property were maybe $450,000, most of what I'm looking at is how much do I need to bring to the table and when, right? So How flexible are they on their terms, and when do I need to bring money to the table for a purchase are all very important questions to me. And so this is a great deal. I'm showing you a deal that had I had $68,000, or really it'd probably be close to around $75,000 today, I would purchase, right? It's a no-brainer. And I'll tell you another reason why I'm not going to get it here in just a second. But this is a great deal. And the Bigger Pockets tool actually tells you it's a great deal too, right? So if they have people who are checking to see what you're looking at within your portfolio to see if it's a good deal, I feel like this would be a great one. It passes the 50% rule on 100%. And don't talk to me too much about what that 50% rule is, but it passes it. There's no numbers in the negatives or the red, so I know we're good there. It also has great cash on cash return, and everything here, as you kind of look at the overall property value, is looking really good too. If you come into to units like this and you purchase them and you put $200,000 to $250,000 into the units, you are going to come out with a super close to $1 million value on this property. And if you can get it in at a lower price, let's just say you can get it for $450,000. If you can get it for $450,000, put $200,000 into it, you're at $650,000 all in. You've got $350,000 in forced value in this unit because of the work you did in it. That's pretty awesome, right? And so if you needed to do something like pull out dollars from a property, well, you've got a loan on that property for probably, let's say we did $450,000, probably, let's say $390,000 on a $1 million property. You've got about $600,000 in equity that you can pull out of that property and go reinvest or do what you please with. And so that's the benefit of real estate. So it's all around this idea of, I'm a believer of forced appreciation, forced value, and then you have flexibility to do what you want with those dollars when you want to do it. And so that to me is a no-brainer. It's really the thing that I truly think is the benefit of purchasing and owning real estate. The ability for you to, on the fly, make a decision and figure a way to go get your cash, right? So I'm working on a triplex right now that I value to be probably around anywhere between $350,000 and $450,000 once it's complete. I'm probably going to end up putting, if I'm super lucky, I'm trying to squeeze in my costs somewhere under $200,000. I'm really hoping I can get it around $120,000, $130,000. It's a stretch because I do some very unique things in my homes that some people would probably slap my hand for doing. So maybe give me feedback. That's great. Why not just tell you? I put central AC and heat in every unit, and then I update the plumbing if it's super old and needs it. And if it needs plumbing, I generally just replace as much of it as possible or do a complete plumbing gut and changeover. And the reason I do that is once I get tenants in, I really don't want them to call me, right? I don't want our phones to be ringing every single day with maintenance requests. I don't want to be a slumlord. I want to have tenants that are happy, that pay their rent on time, and have a good place to lay their head. You guys heard me talk about the fact that I do a lot of low-income housing in my area. And so even though that's the case, I'm giving them basically brand new homes. Now, the first home that I built or redid, we got jerked around a bit, but I'm learning with every single one. And so people are going to get essentially new homes. And so the benefit for that, for me, is that I don't have people who call me every day. I own a business where I stay super busy. And once I get a tenant in, I'm really not a fan of them calling me, many, many times a month or a year for maintenance requests, right? We're going to have these one-off things like I didn't touch the plumbing in the home that I just talked about a few minutes ago. And so we had to have someone come out and fix some problems from the previous owners. But those things are going to happen. But generally, if the plumbing looks super distressed, like I'm going to literally have issues out the gate with tenants, I'm going to go in and do as much as I can to repair it. And then central AC and heat. For me, it's a bit safer, easier, and simpler for everyone. So I believe in doing central AC and heat. It's a very expensive upgrade up front, but it's one thing that I do. The other thing is we redo every kitchen. Now, I will tell you, I've learned as I've went that not every kitchen renovation that we've done is a good idea. We've actually let go of some really good cabinets in homes that we could have just painted and reused. So we're learning as we go to be more efficient and effective in our approach. Even though we want to renovate and redo our kitchens, do we need to take out those, or do we just use those and paint them, right? We're still trying to figure out, what's that happy medium as it relates to medium as it relates to, what's too much to do and what's just enough. And so I welcome feedback from you guys on what do you do to force appreciation in your homes, and then also eliminate the headache, because plumbing isn't something that anyone's going to see. But I know for a fact, once you buy a home, one of the biggest issues is going to be plumbing. And so if I can prevent downstream headaches by just doing it up front, I'm open to doing that. So that's what I do. So yeah, I do a lot of work in these units to kind of get them ready for people. And I don't want people calling me a ton with work after the fact. So that's a little bit about kind of my approach. So I'm doing, again, low income housing for a lot of our properties, but I'm going to have some mixed use and mixed properties as well. And then we also try and come in and renovate them entirely to a pretty good steady state. And that's something we definitely pride ourselves in too. And then we evaluate. And I'm a single entrepreneur as it relates to my investment portfolio. So I don't have anyone else helping me from a cash standpoint. So I'm very strategic in what I purchase and don't purchase. I want to purchase everything, and I'm not the most patient person. So this property that I just showed you, that's going to cash flow $60,000+ in year one, would typically be something that I don't say no to. But I know what my tolerance level is, what my threshold is. And so just to tell you a little bit about the property that I am purchasing, it's a huge site. Think of it almost like one of your co-working spots that you go into. It's ginormous. The first level is this huge open space that, in my opinion, could have an industrial layout, a coffee shop downstairs. The second level could be used for salons if you wanted. I'm tossing out ideas for what it could be used for. I don't have pictures of this because it's an off-market purchase, which is another benefit and another reason why I want to say no to this one, because my off-market has a lot more flexibility and no one else knows about it. So, again, large commercial on the bottom level, second level. It's literally the same layout as the 6 units up above it, but there's some caveats to transitioning it to apartments. You have to do sprinkler systems and a whole bunch of things that can get fairly costly. I'm going to do some evaluation on it to confirm that, but I've heard pricing can be really high. So if you know someone in the sprinkler system business in that Southeast Virginia area, let me know, because that's kind of what I'm looking at. But I've heard sprinkler systems are super expensive, and so I'm thinking I'll use that space for something else. I'm dabbling with a few ideas, whether that's some gaming systems that are tenant-specific use, right, where I charge a fee and you can go and you can watch movies in there, you can play games in there, and it'll be key access for tenants. That's one idea. Another idea is using it for that and having some sort of like co-working office space for people who just want to go have a meeting in a cool spot and then come downstairs off the elevator and have coffee or, some sort of, quick snack or meal, right? So, kind of playing with ideas as it relates to that. And then on the top level, it's 6 units. I think one's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and the rest are 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I think they're all sort of small units, but each unit will rent for around $650, and then the bigger unit, the 2-1 or 2-2, will be $750. And then the commercial spots in between it, really depending on what I do with them, could bring in decent money too. So all in, I think the cash on cash for that one is around $32,000. Not too bad, right? I do have to put a lot of work into these units, so I don't want to downplay that. They need a lot of work. they do. I think it's going to need a full roof. It's going to need some sort of heating and air mechanism. I'm not sure what's in there now and whether I'll change that out or keep it the same. And then you need to remodel and redo the commercial. Every single floor will need to be remodeled and redone. There's just been tons of water damage in there. So it's a distressed property, but it allows me a ton of flexibility, and I'm getting it off market, which comes with more flexibility. So, and I would actually put the coffee shop down below. I've always wanted to own coffee shops. So this would be my first try at owning a coffee shop. And so I'd put that down at the bottom, and that'd be my property. And as you guys probably know, if you're digging into entrepreneurship, one of the biggest expenses or costs, especially for something like a coffee shop or a brewery or some of the things that I'm super interested in, is the real estate. And so if I've got real estate that I'm purchasing that will allow me to do something that I'm passionate about and enjoy, all the while gaining income on tenants who live up above it, it's just a great idea. And it's in a downtown area, so it's pretty slick deal. So downtown, commercial and residential play. Definitely going to need some work, but I'm super excited about the opportunity. And so for that reason, I am saying no on that great deal that you just saw, but you can see why I evaluated it and think it is a great deal. And I'm focusing on the other deal that has pretty good cash flow and decent cash on cash return. But it allows me the opportunity to do something that I'm very passionate about and I've had a dream of doing for a while, and that's owning a coffee shop. And so I'll do that in real estate that I own and I purchased, which is pretty cool. So hopefully you can go out and take a look at Bigger Pockets and some of the tools available on that platform. You can kind of evaluate things like cash flow, cash on cash return, sort of the equity that you projected equity within that property year over year. And you can modify that and adjust it and tweak it as you'd like. But this tool really does allow for you to have some robust analytics that you can use as you start to evaluate real estate and properties. And I'll tell you, never think you can't get into this. I bought my first property at $75,000. I have not bought a property over $500,000. The one I just showed you would have been well over anything I've ever purchased before. And so anyone can get into this. Anyone can do it. Anyone who's interested in it definitely can. Don't think this is something too far outside of your reach. I can kind of come up with some ideas or tell you some of the ideas I've had for how you can go about buying and purchasing real estate. And mine has been through my business. I'll be fully transparent. A lot of what I've done is because I own a business that's allowed me the opportunity to invest a lot of what I get straight from it into real estate. And then I've had multiple jobs throughout that time. And I plan to continue that, where I have multiple income streams coming in, whether that's purchasing additional businesses, starting new businesses like the coffee shop, or various other things. Having multiple income streams. If you are short on cash, think about a part-time job. If you can get a part-time job making $15,000 in a year, you could very well, and $15,000 super low. I'm thinking like you're not going anywhere great. But if you go somewhere like a library, or you do security at like a co-working facility or something, maybe you're making $25,000 in a year, and that is enough for you to buy property. And if you house hack, where you live in one side, you rent the other, you're basically living for free off that. And then all of your income from whatever income streams you gather can then go into real estate too. There are so many options, guys. I could literally list so many more. Partnerships are out there too. I kind of mentioned I'm not on the partner kick yet. I probably will be at some point, because eventually you tap out, right? You cannot do it by yourself every single time. But while I can, that's my goal. That's my approach. It's what I'm doing. But I would say there's partnerships out there. If you know someone, you trust someone that can go into a partnership with you, there's so many different levers you can pull. And real estate, I truly believe, is a great way for you to build generational wealth for you and your family. So if you haven't tapped into it yet and you're interested, do it. If you need ideas on how to do it, put them in the comments, ask questions, and then I'll come back and I'll answer those questions, or at least give my thoughts. It may not be the right answer. It may not be the perfect answer, but I'll give you my perspective and thought on how you might be able to do it. And I've given you guys some tools already. Previous episode, I talked about how you can find a job, freelancing, or starting a business in an area that's highly needed at the moment. And so go back and watch that if you haven't. And if you did, take a look again, see what skills you have in that area and start to use them. If you have an accounting degree, do part-time bookkeeping for a company or a business. It's a very needed and sought after skill. And if you've got it, use it. And there's probably so much more. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, Bigger Pockets for your evaluations. They have lots of calculators and tools out there that will allow you to decide if an investment is a good investment or a bad investment. And then don't forget, once you start purchasing real estate, it gives you flexibility. If you have 15 properties, and people, I will also say, I'm not against single family homes. I actually think it's a great purchasing endeavor. I have a portfolio that will be very mixed. I'm being very strategic in my approaches, but it is single family, multifamily, and short-term rental at the moment. Those are the areas that I want to spend my time investing dollars in. And the benefits of single family is there's just so much more that you can do when you purchased a single family home when it comes to selling, right? So you can sell a single family home to another family who wants to purchase. And if you've done renovations and modified those units, then it's going to be a home that someone probably wants to live in. So I'd say if you can, single family homes are definitely something that you should be looking into and you should not shy away from. There's a lot of people who say just invest in multifamily, just invest in, whatever. But I'd say you definitely want to have a very diverse portfolio and don't restrict yourself to just one type, because if you sell that property, if you put, money into it and redid it, you're going to get a lot of cash on that sale. And it's really easy to sell single family homes actually, right? So I say go for it. Add it to your portfolio. Maybe you don't do more than 10, 15%, especially if you want to kind of build your cash flow, right? If you want to build cash flow, it's going to be a lot easier with multifamily units. If you want to build, wealth and have flexibility, I think some single family homes in your portfolio will really allow for that. So before we get out of here, I'm actually going to show, and again, I'm assuming if you're listening to this on a podcast, you won't be able to see it, but go take a look at Bigger Pockets. There's a lot of tools out there that are helpful, and you'll want to see those. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am going to tend to forget the URL. So recent remodel. So I just want to take you through this really quick. So this is the property that I've been talking about a little bit. So you'll see from these pictures, and I don't know if you can click on them, you can. So this is sort of the before for a purchased home that we got. So you can kind of see, this is what the home looked like before. And I think that's probably the majority of the pictures. Here's what it looked like after. Painted everything black, put in a new kitchen, redid the floors. So that's a little bit of a preview or a snapshot into our before and afters for a recently purchased home that gives you an idea of the work we're coming in and doing. We're still dabbling with things like kitchens and how much we should or shouldn't do. These are real probably oak or wood cabinets. So should we keep those in and just paint them? These were really distressed. They were all over the place, very crooked, wobbly, halfway broken. So I struggle with that. If you've got feedback, ideas, or thoughts on how we can do better, how we can be efficient and effective, but also bring in some modern looks and feels to homes that are relatively old, we welcome that. Hopefully this was a helpful podcast for you all. I know it was good for me. I went a little bit long on this one, but do hope it was valuable. If you have questions or if you want to dig deeper, subscribe to the channel first, because if I see a comment and I don't think you've subscribed, I may or may not answer it. But then also put your comments in, subscribe and put your comments in, and we will dig through those and see what questions we can answer. And then if you've got feedback or thoughts, or you've been in this game for a little bit longer than I have, and you know ways we can get creative on renovating our units, making them newer, getting some forced appreciation in them, but not doing maybe as much as we do, I welcome that feedback too. So hit us up. And again, I appreciate your time. This is Nicole McKinney signing out.